Clarke.
My debut 1990 September, Bristol City away, to get that opportunity, what thousands of Geordies only dream of.
Lee Clarke 1-0.
Williams.
My first goal for Sunderland away at Leicester was a left foot volley. I didn't realise my left foot was for kicking the ball with it as well. I thought it was just for standing it.
Williams for Sunderland.
Hignett.
Playing against Chelsea and to score the first goal there is something that still lives with me now, and it's what most people will talk to me about.
Hignett with the ball. Go on, Iggy. You beauty. You Scouser Teesside beauty.
Worshipped every weekend. It's the three legends. Banter and rivalry across the North East. On the Toon, the Cat, the Red.
It's that time again on a Friday, 6 o'clock. It means, I was going to say it means only one thing, but it probably means only three things. It is the three legends, Clarke, Higgy, Daz Williams. Boys, how's your week been?
I've had a good week. Clarke, you might not have had a good week. After watching that last week at Newcastle, what a game that was. Clarke, I don't know if you've seen it or you were there. It was, wow, what a game. Newcastle should have had it wrapped up, especially when Van Dijk got sent off, but what a turnaround it was when the subs come on and Darwin Núñez, he's got everything, but he just sometimes it's in the wrong order. Yeah, sometimes it's in the wrong order, but then he was unbelievable when he come on. His pace and his finishing was different class, and like you say, that's the difference between what Liverpool are and what Newcastle are striving to be.
Yeah, it's I watched the game, Higgy, and as you said, I mean, I went through the ringer because obviously, as we spoke about last Friday, my boy was part of the Liverpool squad that went up there, and obviously the manager went for young Jarrell Quansah, which was a master stroke because obviously the situation that happened with Van Dijk on the bench. So because young Jarrell came on for his debut and done brilliant, but obviously my boy was part of it, so I went through the ringer, mate. 1-0, I'm thinking, well, he's part of the Liverpool setup. And then when Núñez got the first, I was like, right, just finish the game, let's call it a 1-1. And then he scores for 2-1. I'm like, wow, what's happening? I dread to think if when he gets the chance, if he does get the chance to be involved, what I'll be like. It'd be horrific.
How many times did you swap your top, Clarke?
Thankfully I was sitting in 36 degrees, Daz, so I didn't have a top on.
Happy days.
Well, I wasn't.
Just a red one then.
Yeah.
I
was sat in 12 degrees at the game, and the game was unbelievable. I have to say though, Clarke, that the atmosphere at the game, the fans were unbelievable. I mean, they were absolutely unbelievable. It was rocking the place. Especially with the start they made. I thought actually Liverpool were good at the start. I thought they'd pen Newcastle in, and then Newcastle got into it, and then obviously with the sending off and the goal, the mistake by Trent, Anthony Gordon goes and scores, and then from then on you think it's going to be quite comfortable for Newcastle. They just should have kept the ball, but they didn't, and Liverpool got stronger as the game went on. And then when he put the subs on, Klopp, I was surprised he took Luis Diaz off, but everything he does seems to turn to gold, and clicks. Yeah, everything it does, and you. So I'm sitting there questioning whether that was the right thing, because Diaz is a bit different. And if you've got 10 men, you want someone who's like dynamic and does something different. Yeah, and he does that, and he was causing Newcastle all kinds of problems. But then he takes him off, and you think, well, they're just going to be solid now, and they were solid up till about 70 minutes, 75 minutes when he just changed. He put Jota on, put Núñez on. And from then on, Liverpool looked like they could score against Newcastle almost every time they went forward. Newcastle sort of ran out of ideas, and I don't know about you, but I was surprised that Gordon came off. I thought Gordon was having a great game. I thought Tonali was getting more and more influential as the game was going on, and the both of them came off, and it sort of stunted Newcastle a little bit, and they ran out of ideas. And in the end, I was sat there thinking Liverpool are going to nick this, because you could see it. You could see it happening, and everyone went a little bit nervy. Newcastle didn't really keep the ball well, and then it was unbelievable what I was watching. I couldn't believe I was watching it. I just thought that's sort of the gap that Newcastle are trying to bridge now. They've got so far, but there's that little tiny bit where they've got to bridge it, and how did he bridge it? And that for me is just signing slightly better players than what they've got now.
No, I totally agree. You made a couple of points there. I'll touch on what the Eddie Howe subs. But obviously I think, I think you've got to agree, I think everyone in the stadium will agree, the turning point was the save from Alisson, from Almiron.
Oh, what a save.
Wow.
What a save
I mean,
that
is top draw. That's why he's rated as one of the very best in the world. I mean, to put the power he hit it with, he couldn't hit it any better, Almiron. He must have thought when that's left his foot, you know what it's like when you've hit that sweet one and you think, right, that's unstoppable. And he puts it onto the crossbar, then pushes the rebound away for a corner. I think that gives Liverpool even more belief. And then, as you said about the subs, but as I've said all the time, and I'm not going to change my mind now, even though it could have affected the result. We've got a strong squad, so when you look at the lads that were brought on at the time, I wasn't questioning them. I thought Gordon was outstanding all afternoon, I've got to say. Trent was really struggling against him defensively. But you're then bringing Harvey Barnes on, you're bringing Wilson on for Isaac, you're bringing Sean Longstaff on for Tonali, other substitutes like that. So at the time, I didn't question them, so I'm not going to be a bit of a hypocrite and start questioning them now. You know it's like, Higgy, when you being a manager and you make these decisions, you don't know what's running through the back of your mind. But in hindsight, it's a wonderful thing, isn't it? We can all sit there afterwards. I know what he's like. He would have been the first person to look at himself and say, could he done something different to allow? But as I said, I think the turning point was the save from Alisson. Then Almiron blazed that great chance over the bar. And Liverpool, as you say, they've got unbelievable firepower. And even at 10 men, you always felt that they had a threat. So, no, a tough afternoon, but nothing to be too downbeat about. I mean, I think there's still a few fans who are coming to terms. They've had a bit too much success too quickly, and they're still starting to struggle when there is a couple of indifferent results. But you've got to remember, we've had 2 losses against Manchester City and Liverpool, and we've got to probably forget about last season, and you're talking about the 2 best teams in the Premier League over the last 4 or 5 years. If you forget,
does it make it worse because it was 10 men though?
Oh well, it always does, doesn't it? Because people just say you've lost against 10 men, but it's when we've played against 10 before, we've managed against 10 before, we've managed with 10 players ourselves. What happens then? They get this. They know they've got to defend for their life, so they drop into 2 banks of 4, don't they? And your striker drops deep if you go 4-4-1 or whatever, and they make it really difficult. So sometimes it's harder to play against 10 men. It's a silly thing to say, but because they're cutting down all the spaces and they want the opponent to play in front of you. But I just think Newcastle just didn't take crucial chances, As I said, the one with Almiron over the bar is a great chance. He obviously hit.
He had a great run as well, didn't he, where he hit the post?
Yeah, the one where he hit the post. So he could have been sitting there with a hat-trick ball, couldn't he? To be honest with you, with the 3 chances we're talking about. But hey, listen,
I think they just needed to spend a bit of time on the ball, didn't they? Do you know what I mean? It's like, you're down to 10 men. We all know it's probably more difficult playing against 10 men, like we've said. But spend a bit more time on the ball. Keep the ball, try and frustrate Liverpool a little bit. Because, and like you say, obviously, the turning point was a save. It was a fantastic save. But I just felt personally myself, keep the ball a little bit. Try and frustrate them, try and drag them out. And then try and pick them off.
Yeah, they probably got caught up, with the fans about going out all out attack and trying to get that second goal too quickly, as you say. And even with 10 men, when Liverpool have that pace and quality up the top end of the pitch, you've got to be careful that you don't leave the back door open. I mean, the 2 goals Núñez scored, to be fair, tremendous finishes. And so we move on. But it's been an interesting week for Newcastle as well. Obviously, started off with a Carabao Cup draw, which bit entertaining but a bit controversial as well.
How does that happen?
Unbelievable, mate, innit, to be honest with you. It's just someone who's in the department there, obviously not very bright with his alphabet, is he? Trying to be in alphabetical order. Newcastle and Norwich are the only 2, so we get Man City. Could have had Fulham away, which wouldn't have been an easy tie anyway, but come on, Man City, man, give her a break. And then obviously Yes,
Clarky, would it have been as controversial if you'd have pulled out Salford at home?
Of course not, Dave. you know the answer to that. But I bet you Gary Neville and the class of '92 boys would have made some. Probably went straight to the powers that be and might have got a retake.
I think the same person that was involved in that draw was involved in the Champions League draw for you as well, then.
Well, I think it.
What
I think
a group
it might have
that
been
is,
Rod
Clarky.
Stewart. Remember Rod Stewart a few years ago? Yeah. I was manager at Kilmarnock at the time when he'd done the Scottish Cup draw. I think he'd had one too many Vinos.
He'd had, yeah. He'd had about 7 too many.
No, I just say, Higgy, what a draw in the Champions League. I mean, when obviously you get to this stage of a tournament, the best tournament in club football, you're coming up against the creme de la creme. But for Newcastle, you know, to get that group, Paris Saint-Germain, Borussia Dortmund and AC Milan, wow. It's already been dubbed the group of death, hasn't it? So, yeah, but great. Incredible. Some new clubs there for Newcastle to go and play against, Paris Saint-Germain and Dortmund. I was just over there a few months ago, the first time I'd been to the Dortmund Stadium, and that yellow wall and the atmosphere and the lead up to the game, just getting involved in the atmosphere around the stadium was just phenomenal, and the noise. So I'm sure the Geordies, when they get over there, will enjoy that. It's a new challenge. Brilliant. I listened to what Eddie had to say briefly on it this morning. He was like, yeah, we've got to go into these games with no fear. We've got to enjoy what we've worked hard for and see if we can produce results that can, you know, be brilliant for us. So it's been quite a lively week for the club, to be honest. So maybe it's just a little bit more sedate tomorrow night when we go to, the American Express Stadium and play Brighton.
Well, that's not going to be easy, is it? Because Brighton
not at all.
Have turned a few teams over. They've had a little hiccup, but you've got to. Everyone now, when you go to Brighton, you know you're going to get a game, and you know what they're all about, and you know it's going to be unless you're on your mettle, you're not going to get a result there, are you? That's the way they've come on.
Well, absolutely, they're a terrific team. The new manager, De Zerbi, there's done brilliant. They have a real boost with their deadline day signing today, getting the young Atsu Fati from Barcelona. That's a real coup for them when you think that some of the other clubs that were linked with him, and he was a terrific talent when he first broke into the Barca team. So I think they'll all be have a huge lift there. So yeah, like you said, Higgy, not an easy game for Newcastle to just try and get back on track before the international break, but something they have to try and do. That they're in a little bit uncharted area in the last 16, 17 months. Two defeats on the bounce and a tough game coming up, so it's important to see how the group react.
Can I just jump in a second, lads? I just need to plug the fact today on this show we're going to give away a couple of VIP tickets to Peter Reid, Kevin Keegan coming back to the region for their chat at South Shields Football Club. So that's on Thursday night coming 7th of September. So we've got a couple of VIP tickets to give away on that one. It's your typical sort of night, 6:30 for the VIPs to meet and greet Peter and Kev. 7 o'clock the night starts. There's food on there as well, and we're going to give them away to the best comment for tonight's show coming in on WhatsApp. You can WhatsApp the lads 0330 043 2002. That's 0330 043 2002. That's the WhatsApp number to WhatsApp messages to the Three Legends tonight, and the best comment, the best question that comes through, will get those 2 tickets. If you want some tickets from the club,
I've got to.
Yeah, go on then, Daz.
If I've got to say it, Dave, it's Lee. What a great night it'll be. I was at the one that they done at Wynyard a couple of years ago, and they bounce off each other brilliantly, Kevin and Peter. The stories they have together, and obviously they were managers, big rivals at Newcastle and Sunderland at the time.
Yeah.
So it's a great evening. So whoever's lucky enough to get the 2 tickets, they'll thoroughly enjoy it. Obviously 2 managers I played for. No wonder they turned grey early. Oops, sorry for the language.
Okay. No, it'll be a cracking night, and if you're not lucky enough to win the tickets, you can get them from the club. The email address info@southshieldsfc.co.uk. Telephone number is 0191 454 7800. But WhatsApp your comments in for the lads. Questions, comments for the Three Legends. 0330 043 2002. We'll give a pair of those VIP tickets away. You'll meet Kevin, you'll meet Peter, and hopefully you can reminisce with the guys. Sorry to interrupt, fellas, but I just thought it was important to get that number out. Right, where are we going next then? That's Newcastle.
Oh,
Daz, I've got to ask you, what is happening at Sunderland at the moment?
Yeah, I have no idea, I'll be honest with you. I mean, I've been checking online, mate, because I thought we were having a fire sale, to be quite honest. I thought they were shutting down. It's absolutely
they are, aren't they,
crazy,
Daz?
mate, what's going on. Yeah, well, it's looking that way, mate, to be fair. But it's absolutely, it's just gone ballistic. Just gone ballistic.
So what
mate.
happens,
I mean,
Daz, what happens if all your best players go and go to a rival? How does that work? And you haven't, you're doing it on deadline day where you haven't got a chance, or Tony hasn't got a chance, if Tony's involved in it at all, of getting anybody else through the door to try and plug the hole. I know they've made some signings, but none of them are at the calibre with Ross is, and maybe Patrick Roberts as well.
No, mate, I know, and this is the thing. I mean, obviously, Ross Stewart's obviously, he's the guy you want kind of back in your leg. You don't want to be selling into obviously a champion. If he goes higher, then then so be it. But to sell it, in the same division is crazy, mate. To be quite honest. Obviously, Patrick Roberts, I think I'm not 100% sure that deal's going to go through or not. But obviously, you never say never. Obviously, Mason Burstow, obviously he's come in on loan from Chelsea. And obviously Roussan's just been announced that obviously he's got over the line as well. So there's a couple in, mate. But you look at Stewart, Embleton, Gooch. Gooch is gone. You've got Roberts, Jack Clarke, Dan Neil, Bach, Pritchard, Ekwa, all linked with moves away. And you just think this is absolute crazy. It is like a fire sale, mate, and it's it's worrying. It's worrying because, like you say, I'm worried about to replace.
I'm worried about your manager, Daz.
Oh, 100%, mate. I can imagine.
Tony, we all know Tony. We all know Tony, great guy. But I'm sure he's sitting there in his office or wherever he is at this moment in time. If he's back home or wherever he is, he'll just have his head in his hands. I mean, I know he'll probably come out and say the right things, but I think deep down he'll be quite disillusioned, I would have thought.
I think he will be, mate, and he's probably got the biggest bag of revels in front of him right now, chomping away on him because he'll have to bite his tongue, unfortunately. And I feel for him, mate. I feel for him because I really don't know what the hell's going on, to be quite honest. And this is just madness. And like you say, we all know Tony. We all know how he is. And all he wants is the best for the club. But it seems that a lot of dealings are going. Not the way he plans. Let's say.
Yeah, I think when I was talking about the feel good factor at Brighton because of the signing they brought in, I think it's going to be the opposite effect at Sunderland, isn't it? The fans are going to be on a little bit of a downer for the game tomorrow when they know, like Ross Stewart looks like that's nearing completion, as you say. Gooch could be away and one or two others, and yeah, they're bringing in youngsters from the big boys in the Premier League, but some of these boys are, as Higgy will tell you, when you're a manager and you bring in these lads who've had on their first loans and stuff like that, it can prove difficult for them, and especially the Championship. That league it doesn't stop at anybody. That can eat anybody up, senior players, experienced players, young boys. And as we've talked about on this show as well, especially when there's lots of youngsters together, which Sunderland do have at this moment in time,
Yeah, totally.
Isn't this a bit of a free hit though, Daz? Isn't it a bit of a free hit for Mogger? So football people looking in will see what's going on and they'll think, well, Tony's got whatever he does with this team, if he keeps them in the Championship, he's won. If he doesn't, then we know why. And if he gets them into the playoffs, it just shows you what a miracle worker he is. So in one sense, although I know he'll be disappointed and he'll be tearing his hair out probably with what's going on, but in another point, he can't lose really, can he?
No, I don't think he can, mate. And I think last year, he proved a point last year. Let's be honest. I mean, going in, after having been out of the Championship for many years, going back into it and then getting in the playoffs, was a long shot at best. But he did that. He got us in there, and all credit to him. And for me, if I was the owner, would I'd be looking at that and thinking, if we give him a little bit of backing here, who knows? Who knows where he can take us, type of thing. And I just think, it's just about getting behind Tony personally, and obviously, we're looking for players. They've been linked with, at Crespo and even Michu's come back on the scene during links. But it's looking like obviously he's going to stay at PSG. But for me, you've got to get behind Tony. But like you say, I think he's on a win-win either way, mate. To be quite honest, because I think the fans realise obviously, he's not the one obviously doing the dealings, etc. But let's get real and let's get a bit of support behind, because you're looking at 8, 9, 10 players possibly leaving the club there, and we're looking, we're linked with 5 or 6, and links half the time can be just down to rumours.
If they lost them eight whatever players, is the squad strong enough to cope with that, or will he be dipping into the 18s and 21s type?
I think obviously depending on who he brings in, mate, he'd have to be dipping into the 18s, 21s, or even more so the loan market, at some point. We've always gone on about it for the past so many years, mate. The strength of the squad, the core 11 was great, but you look beyond that and you're struggling, and some of these guys were in the core 11, and you just question. It's taking it down to paper thin, mate, to be quite honest, and it would be an absolute tragedy this year if we lost these players, because you cannot see them progressing. With the thickness of the squad they've got.
Yeah, I mean it's ironic that they've got Southampton coming up, isn't it? I mean, that's going to be a hell of a game, isn't it now?
I mean, it is, yeah.
Just added a bit of space.
I mean,
yeah, hasn't it?
Just a tad, mate. But yeah, I mean, Southampton, they're a great side. They're doing well. To lose Stewart there. I mean, obviously, he's not going to play because he's been out injured for quite some time. But then obviously if Robert scores there, if it happens, I'm more convinced it's off. But again, coming back to the club, if you've been linked with a move and you've maybe showed interest in being away, are you really wanting to be there? This is the thing, and this is a question mark over a few of the players on the list. We've got Pritchard and Ekwa, who kind of went in the plans. Obviously Bath as well. Bath's obviously deal to Cardiff is off as well. So yeah, it's all up in the air at the moment. Let's be honest, mate. And it's such a shame at this stage of the season that we're looking at things like this.
If we talk about a fee,
that's a strange one. Sorry, Higgy.
No, it's all right, Clarke. I was just saying, if we're talking about a fee, Ross Stewart, I think the fee quote is about 10 million, isn't it? Plus another 2 or 4 million. Is it add-ons? If he does so much, is that a decent fee for him?
I mean, I think so, mate. I mean, he you could go at the end of the season and he walks away for an out. So is it good business? Whether if you're selling him, for 10 million when he at the end of the season he could walk away. There's obviously that idea of things, but as a fan, you want to keep your best players, but unfortunately, it seems that he's probably swaying towards a Southampton move.
Can you understand why fans are getting concerned about the club now, Daz? Because that's all I'm reading at the moment on social media. That's all we're hearing when fans, and they can comment now if they want on the Three Legends, 0330 043 2002. That's what we're hearing is what's happening with the club.
I think so, yeah, mate. I think it's you can understand why. It's like I said to you. I was going through the list earlier on. And I'm thinking, hang on a second. What's happening here? Like it just looks like a fire sale to get people out. And get money in, but then not kind of invest the money back on the pitch in a sense. They've got a loan deal in there. Obviously they've got the Roussan deal, but all the others are all question marks. And you think, well, you're getting that money in, but we've got to replace these players at the end of the day, and you can't always just rely on the loan market.
Go on, Lee. I jumped across.
Well, I was going to say it. No, I just wanted to say it does when he mentioned the Danny Bath one, looked like he was going to Cardiff, then that's been it's broke down for whatever reason. That's a strange one for me when we're talking about how many youngsters is in the team, and he has quite an experienced player who's done a good job for them as a central defender. that was a strange one when I seen that one today. Does that he was on the verge of going to Cardiff, and then it's broken down. I mean, do you know the reasons it's broken down? Did Sunderland call it off, or?
I'm not 100% sure on the reasons why it's broke down, mate. To be quite honest, I'm hoping Sunderland called it off, mate. But looking at the list, mate, I'm not quite sure they will have. To be quite honest, I think they're looking to kind of offload, as quickly as possible by the looks of it. For me, it's a strange one because. Like we say, you can bring young players in and give them the opportunities, but you can't have a squad of 11 young players on the pitch, or 10 young players, because you always need that that experience in and around them, to pull them through. As we all know, the Championship is such a tough and demanding league, for young players. The guy Mason coming in from Chelsea, he's a young lad. He's getting thrown into the Championship. It's an eye opener for anybody when you go in there, mate. It's demanding. It's tough, and not only that, you're going in there on the back of a club like Sunderland, who fans are expecting and wanting to do well, week in, week out, and want to get promoted. So the pressures of that as well as the Championship.
As we have to say though, good result at the weekend, 0-0 with Coventry. I know they haven't scored, but they've kept a clean sheet and they were away from home. It was a tough game for them.
Yeah, it's a tough game. I mean, we all know going down to Coventry, mate, at any stage, it's always a tough game, and obviously, clean sheet, a point. It's not a bad result at the end of the day when you look at it. I mean, I know Coventry had a few really good chances when obviously, the keeper kept us in it at the end of the day. But you look at the other end, and I think there was a couple of fans whinging on about Clarke should have squared the ball, and it was an easy tap in. But how many times has Clarke got in that situation in the box, and had a shot and put it in the bottom corner? It was one thing in his mind, and he was going to have a shot, on the back of that. But yeah, I can see where the fans' frustrations come from, because a square ball, possibly could have given us 3 points.
We've had a comment coming in from Kev, who's in South Shields, and he's asking the question about Jack Clarke, and I'll throw it at you, Daz, but all three of you as well to comment, because you're all you're all former players, and what he wants to know is, what will Jack Clarke be feeling now if he's been told he can go if 10 million's bid, and an offer from Burnley of 10 million came in and the club did a U-turn, but now there's possibly seeing the likes of your Stewarts, your Roberts, your Gooches leaving the club? What would that do to a player psychologically?
God, well, I mean, let's be honest, it's a knock, isn't it? Really, psychologically, for me personally, you'd be very frustrated. Your mindset would be, do I want to be here? The club messing me about. For me, he's obviously a player I would keep hold of. I like him. I think he gives us something different. But yeah, I can just imagine. He's got a lot of frustration behind obviously his move being blocked, really, because they moved the goalpost from 10 million to 15.
Higgy, how about you?
I think personally, Dave. Sorry, Higgy. I think he'll be really, really frustrated, and I think he'll be a little bit down. I think he's a very talented young player, as he's being scouted and wanted by Premier League clubs shows that. He's been a terrific signing for Sunderland, and when he sees the other top players going, he'll be thinking, well, what's the ambition of the club? Are they just trying to make as much money as possible, make the club self-sustainable, but not really have the ambition to go any further, or unless they can get a manager like Tony to repeat the great stuff he done last year, which would be an even a bigger task this year with what's happening at the club, losing even the best players he's got. So I think him and his family and his management team, they'll be a little bit disillusioned, I will say. I think because let's be honest about this, it's going to prove very difficult. I know the staunchest Sunderland fan will be hoping Tony can produce his magic again, but when you're selling your top goal scorer, your talisman, there's other players going out the door, and those other players might divide opinion between fans, but when you're losing the players you are, the numbers, when you haven't got the biggest squad to start with, and it's quite inexperienced in terms of age and games played, it just could be a tough season, and players don't want to be involved in the bottom part of the table. They want to be involved in the excitement at the top, not the trauma and the horrible feeling you get when you're down the bottom of the table. So I think he'll be quite disillusioned at the moment, to be honest.
Yeah, well, I sort of agree with Lee there. I think without knowing the character of him, if a Premier League team comes in and you've been told, if someone bids 10 million, you're going to go. They do bid 10 million, you don't go. And when you see, like the lads have said, what's going on around him, I think it's hard not to feel like, well, what's happening here? I think he deserves an explanation. Why will you let Ross Stewart go? Arguably the most important player in the whole team when he's fit. And not me. And the answer might be, well, listen, next year we might think you're worth 20 million and not 10 million. So it might just be a business situation where they're thinking, listen, 10 million's all right, but we've got a feeling Jack Clarke's going to be worth a lot more than that next year. The risk for them is, don't know how long he's got left on his contract. It's a bit like Russian roulette, really. Do we let it go another year, hope he has a good season, hope someone comes in with more money, or risk losing him for nothing when his contract's up? Because when you get to 1 year left on your contract, players will just see it out. They'll just sit there and see it out. And I don't know how old Jack Clarke is. He's only young, isn't he? Is he under 23, I think? So they may still be entitled to some money for him, but it won't be the money that they're talking about now, or the money that he might be worth in the future. Bit of a gamble. And the other reason is that it's a gamble is the player going to be happy? So, like I said, again, without knowing his personality, is he going to be happy there? And once you've got an unhappy player, it's a waste of time. I always say, if you've got a player whose eyes have turned elsewhere, let him go. Get what you can for him and let him go. I feel that way about Mo Salah. Love him to bits as a player. He's been unbelievable for Liverpool. But if you get 200 million quid, 250, and his eyes have been turned, let him go. Because all you're going to do is create a bit of an atmosphere then. You might have someone who doesn't want to be there, who, without knowing it or subconsciously, might down tools a bit without him knowing it. Some lads will down tools, and we've seen some lads go on strike, which, I'd never agree with. But that's the issue that Sunderland are going to have if they play it this way with Jack Clarke. I think he's a really talented player. I think he excites people. I think he's going to get better. It's a tough one. It really is a tough one for Sunderland to manage. And it is, mate, and
that's that's the thing, isn't it? If you have someone like that who is, doesn't want to be there, it can be infectious as well around the squad. And it can affect other people. So for me, I'm not saying he is. I'm not saying he's going to mope around it. He may just brush it off and say, well, I'll prove you wrong, and I'll get a move later on, type of thing. But for me, it can be very infectious around the squad.
Interesting. But before we start on Boro, Higgy, because it's all doom and gloom on here. It's all doom and gloom on here the night. It's usually good. It's usually good crack. Tell us they played well at West Brom, man, will you?
I'll tell you what we'll do, fellas. We've done Champions League and how it's the group of death for Newcastle. Obviously, we've done Sunderland, what the hell's going on. And Lee, we've had the EFL Cup's balls, not handling their balls correctly. We will talk Boro. A quick reminder, if you want to get your comments into the lads, you can WhatsApp the studio 0330 043 2002. That's 0330 043 2002. We've got these 2 VIP tickets for Peter Reid, Kevin Keegan, Thursday night coming up at South Shields FC. The event happening there. VIP tickets, you'll meet both guys in a meet and greet session. We're giving them away to the best WhatsApp comment tonight. 0330 043 2002. The boys will continue their chat after this.
It's the 3 legends across the North East. Clarke, legend. Williams, legend. Hignett, legend. WhatsApp us, call or send a voice message. Banter at its best. 033 00 43 2002.
Right across the North East, the Tune, the Cat and the Red.
Yeah, the boys are in town. It is the three legends across the North East on the Cat, the Red and the Toon. We've done a bit of Newcastle. We've done a bit of Sunderland. I think the spotlight we're now turning towards, Higgy, it's shining on you, mate. We're going to talk Boro. And we'll come off the back of a comment from Pete, who's in Gisborough, who's listening to us on the Red. And he's asking the question, Higgy, not very good performances in the league, half-decent performances in the Cup. What chance that's going to rub off against QPR at the weekend?
Dave, someone's at the door. I've just got to go and answer it, so I'll be back in about 25 minutes when we're off.
Great crack, Iggy.
I think Pete's in my road. He's West Brom. Listen, I'll start at West Brom. There wasn't many positives for me down at West Brom. I thought they'd go down there and put up a decent performance. The goals they conceded were really poor. I mean, I've watched them again. They were really poor goals. And you give yourself a mountain to climb when you go 2-0 down away from home. The one positive from that game was that Latty Lath scored on his debut. And he scored a great header, by the way, and he was a handful. And he looked like he had a little bit about him. So for me, that was the positive down at West Brom. There wasn't much. I know Michael came out and he said he was encouraged by what he'd seen. I couldn't see it at West Brom. Bolton became a massive game. I know Bolton are a league down and you expect Boro to go there and turn them over, but it's suddenly the pressure's on Boro. You know, they can't lose another one. They're away at Bolton. Can you imagine if Boro would have lost that game at Bolton? And they got off to the worst possible start by going a goal behind. So they showed great character. The performance was all right. It was better than it has been. Not perfect. And they left it late as well. And obviously Riley McGree came off the bench. Morgan Rogers came off the bench and both got a goal and an assist each. Left it late, but got the win 3-1 away at Bolton, which was a decent performance and I think it probably was the right result. 3-1 was probably a fair reflection of the game. So happy that they got that win because, like I said, if they'd have got a negative result there, it would have been proper doom and gloom everywhere. And now they've got a real chance. QPR on Saturday. I expect them to win on Saturday. I've got a good feeling about Saturday. They've made some signings. I mean, they've brought, 5 this week? Lewis O'Brien, I think, is a great signing. Coming on loan from Forest. I've seen him play for Huddersfield where he was impressive. Sam Greenwood, I've seen quite a bit play for Leeds under 21s. And he's got real ability. A forward-thinking player. And I think he'd be perfect for the way Michael plays. And then Alex Bangura, who's another... He's a left wing back, really, I think, and we've just signed a left wing back in Lucas Engel. So I'm not sure whether there'll be a change of play or how they'll cope with that. But they've brought some in. They've had 12 signings since the summer, so it's not like they haven't brought anyone through the door. Now it's just a case of seeing what we end up with after transfer deadline day. They might get one more, they might not, and then it's all up to Michael and the boys to get their heads down and start picking some points up in the league because that's where it counts. The table doesn't make for great reading at the moment. 1 point out of the first 4 or 5 games. So they need to pick up 3 points and they need to start doing it soon. And hopefully QPR Saturday, they'll do that. Hello?
Fellas?
That's how bad it is.
Carry on speaking.
I didn't even know my mic was on then. I thought my headphones were breaking up. I thought I'd give such a good rundown there that everyone's like, yeah, he's bang on. Perfect. Well done, Iggy. I've got nothing else to say to that.
I think they were just putting you through the ringer, mate. They were putting you through the ringer. Go on, fellas.
It's so bad, honestly.
Hopefully the new signings will give everyone a boost, Higgy, and just give that lift. Got QPR tomorrow, which they haven't pulled up any trees either this season, have they really?
No.
At the moment, they seem to be a bit of a club in transition, and so it's a good opportunity with the new signings and the window shut. Michael just get everyone settled down and try and get that elusive first win, and that once that happens, maybe the confidence levels comes back and the team can kick on without a doubt.
Is there any rumours of any other ones coming in, Iggy?
Not really, Daz. No, I mean. Last week they said they were going to stay away from loans, but then they've obviously brought 2 loans in. And I said it last week on the show. I think if you get to this point in the season where you haven't got people through the door who you want as your permanent signings, you're going to have to rely on the loan market, and especially with the start that they've had, you need to bring in some more reinforcements, because what they've got, it's not quite good enough, and it's been proved. I mean, QPR have only had one win up to now in the league, so it's a good chance for them. They're at home. I'd expect them to win this game, and I'd be slightly concerned if they went into it and didn't win it and got beat. I just think, like Lee says, you hope that the signings come in, hit the ground running, they get a result from somewhere, and it just kickstarts them into playing with confidence. I know Riley McGree's been spoken about quite a bit, not been in the team, been left out as sub. Come on, was impressive, certainly impressive against Bolton when he came on. He might get a start. They've been struggling. We all know why they've been struggling. I mean, the creativity, especially in the league, just hasn't been there. Like I say, the 3 goals away at the week, they scored 2 away at West Brom, but still got beat. It's a concern. It's certainly a concern if you score 2 away from home and you can't get something out the game. So you can't be letting 3 and 4 goals in at a time. So there's loads of areas of the pitch that they just need to tighten up slightly. The signings look decent signings. Hopefully they'll turn out to be really good signings. Whether they'll be the same type of loanees that were here last year, I very much doubt. But it's more bodies through. It's a bit more quality in, and hopefully it'll do the trick.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, mate, I'm quietly confident that the weekend will go well. But it's crazy, isn't it? I think that we're talking about QPR obviously coming up to play Middlesbrough, and it's a massive game. Do you know what I mean? It's a big game. It's a big 3 points. For both clubs, really. To get on the way and get start picking up points and getting up the league. But it's just crazy that this early on, we're talking about this. Even with the Sunderland situation, two teams that were in the playoffs last year. We're talking about trying to get points on the board to get us mid-table. Say for instance,
it's just an example of how ruthless a championship is, isn't it, guys? To be honest, it just shows you, like, if you're short in any area in the championship, because it's just constant, it's just Saturday, Tuesday, and it's non-stop. And if you've got any weak areas in your group, it can just eat you up, that league. And at this moment in time, Boro and Sunderland are finding it difficult. But as I said last week, I'm a lot more confident that Boro can turn things around, because they're trying to give their manager the best chance. I'm not sure that's happening at Sunderland. I'm not sure that the people behind the scenes are. Hey, I might be proved wrong with the guy who's just come in, the striker. I'm not trying to pronounce his name, but I'll leave that one to you, Daz. We could be proved wrong with those signings, and hopefully we are. But I don't know. I just get this feeling that I've got more belief that Boro can turn things around than Sunderland doing what they done last season.
Yeah, is it Rusan you're on about, mate?
That's the one, mate. I knew you'd help us out.
Yeah. I thought it was a bit of a wind-up. I thought it was somebody typing Russian.
I knew that one GCSE you got, Daz, would help you.
Hey, the cheap on the internet now,
Buy one for 10 million.
We'll be joined by Ian Murder very shortly. He'll be having a chat about what's on his show coming up at 7 after the 3 legends are finished, after the lads have gone to open a can or whatever they do immediately after they've been on the radio. But just one more quick reminder about the 2 VIP tickets we're giving away tonight. Peter Reid, Kevin Keegan, they're at South Shields FC next Thursday. VIP tickets, meet and greet, so you'll meet the lads. You'll see a cracking night with the two of them, Reedy and Keegan. I remember them from my Sky Sports days when I was the North East football reporter. Very interesting times when you talk to the two guys, so heaven knows what they're going to be like when they get together. So you can do that. It's a WhatsApp comment. We want the best comments of the night. We'll actually roll this into Ian Murder's show as well, so the best comments coming through, we'll take those 2 VIP tickets. If you're not lucky enough to get them, contact the club. They've got a handful of tickets left for the night. Sorry, had to do the plug, fellas. So where we going
No
next?
problem.
We've done Newcastle, we've done Sunderland, and we've done Boro, and Lee's going to jump in and save the day. Go on, mate.
I just want to know the lads' thoughts. Obviously, it's deadline day today, and if there's any deal that's jumped out at them as being a bit of a shock deal, or what they think's the best deal that's happened so far. I'll start off.
I think the one for me. So, go on.
I'll just start off, Daz, mate. I just think the one that's really shocked me is the Cole Palmer one from Man City to Chelsea.
Yeah, to Chelsea.
I think exceptional young player who's done great since he's broke into the Man City team. I thought when Mahrez went to Saudi, that could be an opening for him to establish himself. He's only young. He's obviously scored goals in some big games for City and looked really impressive. But and done really well for England under 21s in the summer when they won the Euros. So I was really shocked that they sold him, but sold him to one of their rivals as well. I mean, I know they've got 42.5 million quid down payment with other add-ons, but I was just quite surprised by that one. That's one that's given me the biggest shock at this window, certainly so far.
Yeah, I think for a link signing. Sorry, mate. I think for a link signing, just obviously, again, it could be a possible rumour, but Dan Neil being linked with Liverpool.
Well, I can see it. And obviously, I've got an insight into the club, but I can see it because they're always looking at young players. But I'm not too sure what sort of move it would be for Dan himself, because they've just signed 4 top central midfield players this summer already. And experienced players at that. So, when you've been Dan Neil and you've played, he played over 100 games, could be 150, is it? Is it that many, Daz? How long's he been in the team?
Yeah, I think it's just over 100, isn't it, I think?
So, when he's played 100 games at the level of a club at Sunderland, high expectations. I've always said this about young players. It would be the wrong move for me in terms of him going to Liverpool to then be going into their under 21 squad or whatever, or on the fringes of the first team. He's got to continue that development. From his point of view, he's got to look at the move. He's got to continue in someone else's first team. Do you know what I mean?
How old is he, Daz?
Dan, he's 21. 21.
Yeah, see, I don't know if you'd seen Dominic Szoboszlai play, who Liverpool have just signed.
Top draw.
Oh, unbelievable. He's only 22. Now, this fellow he's been so impressive in the 3 games he's played already for Liverpool. But at 22, again, you're talking about comparing him to Dan Neil. Szoboszlai's captain of his country and stuff like that. He's just... how would he get in? I don't see where he's going to get in.
Gavin Batch just took from Bayern Munich. He's only 21. Yeah. He's come in for 35 million a day. The signings they've made, Liverpool, are massively for the future, but they're players who are young, who've got unbelievable experience in Champions League and obviously playing for Bayern Munich's of this world and Ajax. Gavin Batch, that's his history. He's 21, as you say, so Szoboszlai 22. I think is McAllister something like 24, 25 World Cup winner. I mean, it's just mad, they've done some good business. Higgy, obviously, we're going away from the North East a little bit, but obviously your links with Liverpool and mine, Daz mentioned Dan Neil. I'm thinking, do you not think they might have needed a defender in this cash splurge as well?
I think so. I think. Listen, I thought Joe Gomez was brilliant when he came on and played as centre half, and we haven't really seen him play at centre half regularly. He's more often than not been right back when Trent's been brought off or he's put him in there. But I thought he looked much more comfortable at centre half. But I think that they're probably light. I think with Konate. I like Konate. I think he's so athletic. I think he's a beast of a centre half. But he does get injured and he does miss quite a few games. Same with Matip. He can miss games. Van Dijk, apart from the major injury he had when he got it against Everton, the ACL, he doesn't miss many games. But I think they could do with another defender. Right back has always been a bit of an issue if Trent doesn't play there. And they filled it with James Milner and Joe Gomez before. But going back to your shock transfers, the Mo Salah one, if that happens, for me that'd be the biggest shock. I agree with Cole Palmer. I think 42 million quid for him was a great bit of business for for Manchester City, I think. But the Salah one, you know, if he ends up going for £200 million and Liverpool get 360 grand a week off the wage bill as well, that would be some recoup for them, because they're never going to get that sort of money for him off any other European club.
No, I think that would be the owners or whoever would be doing a disservice to the football club if they turned down 200 million plus. I think because that and what I would say to you there, Higgy, is to reinvest that back into the squad in the January and next summer's window as well. Do you know what I mean?
But
that'll help you with the FFP as well.
Well, that's what I was going to mention, because there's been question marks about the FFP and whether they've managed it right and whether there's going to be an investigation into it or not. It would certainly help, you know, if Salah went for that sort of money. But I'd said it again, and if when you're dealing with the Saudi market, it's different, because someone who's worth £100 million a year, and people will pay £100 million for players. We've seen it. Chelsea done it for Casado. So if that's the same thing going to Saudi, it's double. Like wages, you know, wages are 5 times.
They're talking about $1.5 million a week, aren't they?
Yeah, they're talking. Mo Salah now earns 360 grand a week at Liverpool,
$1.5 million
and he's on
a week
about earning
Saudi.
360 grand a day going to Saudi. It's just ridiculous when you think about it. I remember thinking John Barnes signed for Liverpool and he was on 10 grand a week, and I used to think to myself, I was an apprentice at the time, I used to think 10 grand a week, what can you do with 10 grand a week? And now you're looking at 360 grand a day. I mean, I hope they're going to give him a club house and a club car, because how can you afford to live? Remember, who was it who went to Chelsea? It was the German who went to Chelsea, who said the money he signed, he said, I can't live in London. It's impossible for me to live in London with the money I'm getting. And he was on about 100 grand a week, wasn't he? It was... I'll think about it in a minute.
Crazy, mate.
Okay, yeah. I'll tell you somebody who's not too...
just gone nuts.
I'll tell you somebody who's not a couple of pence behind, not far behind Mo Salah then, on his Saudi money, is Ian Murter. Ian, the North East football writer extraordinaire, on at 7 o'clock with black and white and red all over, joins us now. What's on the show tonight, Ian?
I remember when on tour with Sunderland, when Clarke had just signed for them, and he put a big bar bill on my room number.
Oh, nice.
For the rest of the summer.
That was a big trick of mine. I actually done that to Laurie McMenemy on an England under-21 trip as well. He went mental with us.
You've got a bad reputation, Clarke. Listen, I'd like to ask you, lads, when you were kids or teenagers, young adults even now, do you buy a football magazine?
Roy the Rovers.
I used to buy shoot and match.
Shoot and match. Yeah.
Shoot and match,
I'm pleased you said that, because on my show tonight I've got Matt Ketchell, who's the deputy editor of 442, which is a monthly which I'm sure you've all read at some time. It celebrates its 30th anniversary. It's excellent, yeah. Anyway, the reason he's on, I don't know if you've passed a newsagent or a supermarket and seen the magazine shelves, but it's this month's edition is all about Newcastle United, and Matt wrote it. He's done an absolutely tremendous job at it. So I've got him on to talk about that, also to talk about the history of football magazines. Of course, you know, they've been going right back for, I think, 70 years since the first one was launched. I've also got a journalist on, I think all of you will know him, Damien Spellman. He's been covering football in the North East almost as long as I have. And but honestly, I really don't know what to talk about. It's been such a quiet week, so we might struggle for content.
I'd like you to talk more about Clarke's bar bill.
Hey?
Ian, was it itemised?
Hey, I'll tell you what, Clarke, he was a little more generous than Tomo. Alan Thompson.
Cracking. We'll be with you, Ian, not long now. The boys just have to chat through what's going to happen at the weekend, and then Ian Murter with black, white and red all over at 7 o'clock following the three legends. Okay, fellas, it's I suppose it's down to the weekend. What's going to happen?
Do you want me to start, lads?
Go for it.
Okay, tough one, as we've already talked about. I I'd take a point. I'd take a point now, to be honest, and that's not being negative. I just think Brighton, tough place to go, as we've already said, on the back of a terrific deadline day signing. A real good team, high tempo. There'll be, a very tough nut to crack. So I'd take a draw now. So I'll say a score draw 1-1, and I'd be delighted with that. And get the international break out of the way. Let Eddie get a bit of time to settle everybody down, and then when the craziness starts after the international break, we can get going again. But hopefully the prove us wrong and get the win. But as I said, very tough game, and I'll take a point.
Where we go next? Boro or Sunderland?
I'll go.
Higgy.
No, I'll go. But I've got it. I can feel it. It's a 2-1 win to Boro. Boro are going to get the first 3 points of the season. 2-1. I'd prefer 2-0, but I can't see them keeping a clean sheet at this moment in time. But I think they're going to score a couple. First 3 points. And another prediction is, if Newcastle do get a point, we'll be reading about crisis in the Toon next week in every paper going, because I think that's what'll happen. I think that if they don't win, it'll be like, 3 games now without a win. 3 games without a win. What's going on at Newcastle? Blah blah blah. And it'll be shambolic. But listen, that's the world we're living in. I think that's what might happen if they don't come away with 3 points at Brighton.
Interesting. Daz?
That's when you have enough players to field 11.
I'm not too sure, mate.
He's gone back to match.
I'm just cleaning my boots now, Clarky.
Stranger things have happened, Daz. You might get a call.
Yeah,
you might get a call.
You're not
Daz.
wrong, mate. I hope so.
Send it back now, Daz.
What, to take Tony some revels?
I've seen the shape here. You'll eat them before you get there.
I've had 3 bags while I've been sat here. I'm gonna stay positive. I'm gonna go 1-0 win. Nice solid performance from last week, carrying into this week. Also, I'm understanding there's 2 new arrivals just arrived at the training ground for their medicals. So I'll wait to see what happens on them. But 1-0 win at home, Sunderland.
Okay. 1-0 win at home.
If you're predicting a win, it must be Mbappe.
I suppose
it's Salah. We've gone.
It all depends who Patrick Roberts is playing for, won't it?
Or Ross.
It might do, mate.
Fantastic, fellas. Have a great weekend. Have a great week ahead. Clarke, Newcastle's boosted by the Champions League draw. They're going to get 3 points from Brighton, I'm telling you. Boro's going to get 3 points.
Thanks, Dave.
I only see 1 point for Sunderland, though. But hey, what do I know? You're the pros.
Oh, away, man.
All right then, Daz, I'll give you a win. Don't worry, mate. But I can't see who's going to score the goals. I've got to be honest, I can't. Own goal, 1-0, Sunderland. There you go. All right, fellas, have a great weekend.
That.
Yeah, you've got it. Ian Mertens up
Cheers,
next.
lads.
Cheers, fellas.
Cheers.
All the best, lads.
Cheers. Have a good one, guys.
It's the 3 legends across the North East. Clarke, legend. Williams, legend. Hignett, legend. WhatsApp us, call or send a voice message. Banter at its best. 033 00 43 2002.
Right across the North East, the Toon